ShinRobjira.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the Trendmasters Godzilla, King of the Monsters, 10-inch Light Up and Roar Mechagodzilla. Or Super Mechagodzilla, or Mechagodzilla 2, or Mechagodzilla 3, or Mechagodzilla 1993. So I'm gonna be Stone Cold Steve Austin with all y'all. What? Alright, that's good enough. In all seriousness though, this guy really doesn't feature any paint at all. I mean, judging by the nicks on his nose and on his shoulders, this might be a silver paint. But I also kind of think this might have just been molded in a silver plastic. The hands and the feet over here are going to be a darker gray because they're molded in a different plastic. His eyes will be yellow, and spoiler alert, his mouth will be red on the inside. But those are just different kinds of plastics. Yeah, this guy features absolutely zero paint. I mean, regardless, his color is still nice. He's bright, he's silver. I think he looks pretty dang cool without all that shading. I'll give paint a solid star. I mean, I guess in this case, I'd have to call it general appearance because I still do think this is just what they molded the plastic in. Oh yeah, definitely not. This was white, so the silver is paint. This changes nothing. Solid star in terms of paint. Yeah, I know it might be shocking to some of you. What is this? Paint bitcheroni and cheese? ShinRobjira not caring about the lacquer of a lot of paint? Yeah, this is just one of those moments where I really don't think this guy needs a lot of paint. Don't get me wrong, I love Mecha Patton Oswalt over here, and I love all of that pristine shading, but I really don't think he needs all of that to look cool. Don't get me wrong, I mean, like the wiring that's exposed, that should have been painted, and I'm probably going to say the exact same thing when that movie monster series Super Mechagodzilla arrives, but hey, for the most part, this doesn't bother me. An all-silver Mechagodzilla, that's perfectly fine. I like it this way. No, this is not opposite day. No, this is not me getting lazy and wanting to speed through a review. This is honestly just my opinion. An all-silver Mechagodzilla for this design specifically? Yeah! From this angular and smooth turd of a head to just the very symmetrical look of this Mechagodzilla design. I think Trendmasters did this guy a massive, massive justice. Mechagodzilla 93 was never one for crazy amounts of detail. It was a very sleek and neo-futuristic kind of take on Mechagodzilla. Hopefully I used that term correctly. You know, we had a lot of these overlapping shapes. We had a lot of this smoothened out design over here. Oh, there's more wires that should have been painted. And when it comes to this iteration, just like with the paint, I feel they did a great enough job on them. From the overlapping pancake titty pectorals, to this weird little design on his cockpit, to his bulbous thighs, knees, and waffle iron looking ass feet, again, I feel Trendmasters did this guy a good justice. And yes, there might not be much detail on these dorsal fins, but the angular and very simplistic design of them, I also feel was perfectly captured. And hey, wouldn't you know it, there's detail on the inside of his mouth as well. Hey. There will be wiring detail on the side of him, as well as on the sides of his arms over here. Yep, you guessed it. Both sides. We got the thrusters on the backs and sides of the legs. We've got the thrusters on his back alongside his dorsal fins. And we even got these non-thrusters on his arms over here. And just look at that ankle detail. Mwah! Magnificat. Again, I don't mean to repeat myself, but Trendmasters did this guy very, very well. And I guess the only other thing to talk about in terms of detail are going to be his little Patton Oswalt hands. Love the details on these. Love that they're properly segmented. And hey, there's even going to be a good amount of detail on the inside of his hand as well. Decent amount of detail on his waffle iron foot. Not so much on the underside though, because they're hollow, but still a lot more than I was initially expecting when I first got this thing. And even though the back of the head doesn't feature all of that crazy looking techno babble that's on the back of the movie monster series figure, you know, all this and that too. Holy crap. I feel the overall vibe was perfectly captured with this head, even though it lacks those details. And honestly, it's just really nice to see a figure of Mechagodzilla 93 with individually sculpted teeth and not just a closed mouth. I appreciate that quite a bit, Trendmasters. Yeah, in terms of details, I'm definitely giving this guy a solid star. Hell yeah. Simple, short, sweet, to the point. Now, let's take a look at articulation. So the mouth can open and close like so. There is a little bit of middle ground posability here, but it does kind of just snap back into place. But if you get it just right, you can have his mouth half open. But who wants that when you can go full open? Like Godzilla, there is some movement in the head, and I'm not going to push my luck here because I don't want to ruin the premium light up feature. But hey, his arms can move all the way around like so. He can flap them in and out with some resistance due to these parts over here. You'll get a very simple bend at the elbow and an even simpler swivel at the wrist. And look at that little dot right there. Good detail. Now, as far as these legs go, they are capable of going all the way around, but I will not be attempting that in this here video. Because unlike Godzilla, this guy's body isn't solid. Look at that seam, bro. And with how bulbous these thighs are and how this is cut in a V shape, I'm too worried that I'm going to force this all the way around and just bust this guy open at the seams. But I guess if I'm gonna do it anywhere, it might as well be on a video. Oh, there we go. All the way around. Yes, never doing that again. And the last little bit of articulation will be at the foot over here. We've got a slight hinge, it's looking like. I originally thought it was a ball joint, but there's no pivot action going on here, just up and down. Oh, and you're not going to get any articulation at the tail. It kind of just plugs into his ass. But you can kind of clip his tail into his hand to make it look like he's a slasher villain now. You think you can fuck with me? Good God, this might actually be the final sight I see. I'm going to give articulation on this guy a solid star. Now let's take a look at his gimmicks. Gimmicks. Not just lights and sounds this time. So let's just turn this lovely gentleman on. Giggity. Come on, one more. Very, very nice light up and roar feature. I don't think that's quite exactly Mechagodzilla 93's roar. It might be, I don't know. I could never stay awake long enough to hear him roar in the movie. But I really do like that the light up feature illuminates all of the inside of his mouth and his eyes very, very nicely. But holy moly, wait for this. I'm gonna turn these lights off. Hold on. Y'all ain't ready for this because this is too freaking cool. Oh yeah, so nice. I had to show it twice from two different angles. I love that light up feature, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't intentional. But just the fact that his head was, yeah, definitely made out of a thinner plastic. I love that the lights actually shine through his skull entirely. Not intended, but absolutely genius. Now, let's take a look at his other gimmick, because there is one more. For those who don't know, this guy came packaged with an alternate backplate. What's that for? I mean, you guys already know. Said thing is for Garuda. Now, I did just buy this thing secondhand. It doesn't have the cockpit cover or the pilot or the missiles, but I got it for like 15 bucks, so I'm really not complaining. This is the first time I've ever owned a Trendmasters Garuda, and I gotta say, getting this thing out of the box for the very first time left me very impressed. Oh God, I never noticed that before. Regardless though, it still left me impressed. The detail is awesome, but I mean, there really isn't any paint on this. Rob, that's paint. But the details are super duper nice, and I don't know, just looking at this thing under the right amount of lighting, looking at all this color and detail, made me wish that I somehow got a hold of those missiles, the pilot, and the cockpit cover. But regardless, I'm still happy with it, and the detail is fantastic. Just look at them engines, bruh. Look at the line detail on that. Look at that little chair in there. He was probably a gamer. Yeah, I'll give this nifty little doohickey a solid star in terms of paint and detail. Now let's attach it to Mechagodzilla's back. Now, oddly enough, I don't think the instructions for Mechagodzilla actually mention that you can do this. Maybe it was mentioned in Garuda's instructions if that thing came with any. But you have to unscrew Mechagodzilla's backplate, get the alternate backplate, and kind of shake this little screw hickey free. Self-explanatory screwing of the back. And now you're ready to attach Garuda. And yeah, I was a little confused at first too, because he's got these two gaping friggin' holes on his back, but apparently just these two pegs will plug into these, and if you do it correctly, Garuda will stay on. And there we go! We have Super Mechagodzilla! The only little detail that I'm sure is going to be off to many is that the missiles aren't going to be sitting on Mechagodzilla's shoulders like in the movie. They're kind of just going to stay where they are. So it's not 100% accurate, but I kind of really don't mind that. This adds a little bit more of a bling-blowy look to Mechagodzilla over here, making me wish that there was a variant of the figure that was the same kind of silver paint that Garuda got. But I'm also quite glad it didn't get that, because Jesus Christ, could you imagine how bad this thing would look if that paint started peeling? Oh my god. So I guess I should just be happy with what I got. But still, this completes the look for Mechagodzilla so very nicely, and it makes me want to track down a version with the missiles and everything included. Unfortunately, the only other version I could find of Garuda on eBay was like $70, and that's with shipping included, and $70 for this. No. So even though it's not insanely accurate, I'm going to give this little inclusion another solid star because yes. Moving on to size comparisons now. I honestly think Mechagodzilla looks great here. I mean, a bigger size 93 Mechagoji is absolutely welcome, because even though he was never my favorite Mechagodzilla design, just having a little bit more of him in the collection is always nice, and I've had this guy for a while now. I love that he matches Godzilla's height. I love that he's very, very easy on the eyes compared to another, and I don't know, simplistic. It's perfect for this design, and I really like it. It's got articulation Godzilla doesn't have. It's got articulation Space Godzilla doesn't have. Can't really say the same for King Ghidorah, Mecha King Ghidorah, or Gigan, or Biollante, but it's nice to see that these all had a good variation to them. They weren't just copy, paste, rinse, and repeat. And in a way, you really can't be like that because these designs are so different from one another. But anyway, if you can find this guy, get him. And if you can find a fully complete Garuda, get that too. Out of the Trendmasters 10-inch figures that I do own, I would definitely place this guy pretty friggin' high. I mean, now that I have this, it's even better. I have been ShinRobjira. Deuce, I hope you enjoyed this review, and when next we meet, I don't know. I have no idea what's coming up next. This is before Kamen Rider. This is before, what was the other thing coming in? The Pinocchio Migo thing. This is before friggin' Christmas. This is probably going to air either right before or right after, so I don't know. I may not see you guys again until 2023. Who knows? Anyway, please check out my social media and Patreon. $1 a month. Access to everything, including this video right now. You may not know it, but this was watched by patrons long before you. That could be you. So do that. I think that's the most I've ever showed my Patreon ever. But yeah, peace out, everybody. Happy holidays. Or Happy New Year.